Have been talking about the mass shooting at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde since it happened 2 months ago. And they're using that tragedy as a pretext to take your guns away as a law-abiding person. But they've ignored what happened in Uvalde at the school. And they've especially ignored the failure of police on the scene to prevent the shooting. Now, outside the school, officers prevented parents from saving their own children. This went on for roughly an hour. Now we know the police were what they were doing inside the school. Trace Gallagher has that video for us tonight. Hey, Trace.
Tucker, the entire video is 77 minutes. It was obtained by KVUE-TV and the Austin American-Statesman, who cut it to 4 minutes and removed some sound. But the context remains very much the same, meaning that for more than an hour, heavily armed police officers stood in a school hallway during an active shooting and did nothing. Here's the timeline. 11:33 a.m., the gunman enters the school through a propped open door and starts shooting into rooms 111 and 112. 2 minutes later, police enter through the same propped open door. 3 officers go toward the classroom, but when the gunman opens fire, they retreat to where the other officers are positioned. Watch. And by now, there are 19 officers on campus. Now, at the same time, a girl calls 911 and whispers that she's in room 112. Over the next 20 minutes, she calls back 4 more times, telling dispatchers that multiple children are dead, some are alive, and that she desperately needs help. She got nothing. At 12:15, SWAT team members arrive on campus, but still do not enter the classrooms. 47 minutes after the shooting began, an officer walks over, gets hand sanitizer, and goes back to his waiting position. It took 1 hour, 17 minutes before Border Patrol agents finally breached the door, entered the class, and killed the gunman. Tucker.
That's just such an awful story. Trace Gallagher, thanks so much.
You bet.
Using hand sanitizer. We've defended the police and will continue to defend the police. They're essential. Most of them are good people. But you can't lie about what actually happened as a pretext to taking guns away from law-abiding Americans in the middle of a crime epidemic. And that's what they're doing, because they're liars. So since Roe v. Wade was overturned by the Supreme Court, you've heard a lot about ectopic pregnancies. Excuse me. That's when a fertilized egg implants outside the uterus, and that can be a huge emergency, a life-threatening emergency. Now, Democrats are now pretending that women with ectopic pregnancies are no longer able to receive medical care. Sandy Cortez of Westchester is one of those. She just mocked Brett Kavanaugh and his family for being harassed at dinner because Brett Kavanaugh somehow, who has children unlike her, does not care about ectopic pregnancies. Quote, poor guy. He left before his souffle because he decided half the country should risk death if they have an ectopic pregnancy within the wrong state lines. Now, first of all, she's encouraging violence, as she has done before, which is unacceptable, particularly for an elected official, period. For another, it's a lie. No state considers treatment for ectopic pregnancies to be abortion, and no state ever will. So what does it tell us that politicians are lying about this? Can you imagine? And why did the Biden administration, speaking of lying, just repeat a story about a 10-year-old child who got pregnant and then got an abortion or was not allowed to get an abortion when it turns out the story was not true? And by the way, when a 10-year-old gets pregnant, the first question is not, how do we get rid of the kid? The first question is, where's the rapist? Where's the rapist? ALISON CENTOFANTE is a pro-life advocate who has watched all of this happen, and she joins us tonight. ALISON, thanks so much for coming on. So first to the question of ectopic pregnancies, which is a tragedy and is a legitimately scary thing and not that uncommon. Democrats are saying that these are somehow treatment for this medical emergency is illegal in places because of Roe v. Wade falling. Is that true?
No. Listen, there are so many lies floating around the internet right now, and it's so sad to see our world leaders, our national leaders like Joe Biden himself, Kamala Harris, and others repeat the lie that I believe they know is a blatant lie. There is no pro-lifer, no pro-life legislation that seeks to limit women's ability to treat an ectopic pregnancy or a miscarriage. You know that. And you know that if anyone did try and limit a woman's access to that care, we, the pro-life movement, would be the first to speak out against it. There is a big difference legally and medically between ectopic pregnancy, miscarriage management, and abortion. No woman, Tucker, chooses an ectopic pregnancy or a miscarriage. We're here to defend children. We're talking about an abortion, which is a choice to intentionally destroy an innocent human life.
That's exactly right. And you do wish people would push back harder. And by the way, if they can't have an honest conversation about it, then maybe they don't have pure motives. I guess I would conclude. Alison CENTOFANTE, I appreciate your clarity on that. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
So we're learning a ton from the massive data drop from Hunter Biden's electronic devices, including the fact that Joe Biden's family refers to him by a nickname that's, well, don't quite know what to say about it, but we have some idea why they call him this. We'll tell you what they call him and why next.